Hello and welcome back to Retro Pop. I'm Jamie. He's Trevor. Trevor, today we're going to talk about retro gaming consoles that were, for the home. So yesterday was the big anniversary of the Dreamcast, Sega Dreamcast. 20 years ago, that system launched on 9999, and we both loved it. I was a big fan. I think we both worked at Babbage's at that time, so we were right in the front row of all the hoopla. Pretty good time. So now that it's 20 years ago, right, and consoles have come and gone since then. So of all the consoles that we've seen come and go, a lot of the retro consoles, I guess they're all retro now, but like the Atari, ColecoVision, NES, SNES, Dreamcast, of all those consoles that we've all played and had, which one, if you could, which one would you want to see remade with current gen hardware? Like, what would be your choice to have another model come out?
I would probably say something from Sega. I know that's maybe kind of broad, but just with the way some of their games were, like with the Sega CD, like I was just stunned back in the day when I could play Dragon's Lair at home because I grew up looking at that game like it was something from another world. You could play something with that kind of graphics. So,
right.
Something like that, like a Sega CD at the time, or even, look at the Dreamcast, that stuff for the first time, like Crazy Taxi, Soul Calibur, that you looked at like, wow, this is just something we've never seen. And, just something from Sega. I just like the way they did their stuff and the way they approach gaming.
So, from a software side, Sega, or you like their hardware as well?
I mean, I wouldn't say their hardware was definitely something that, the Genesis obviously was hugely successful, but the Sega CD, the Sega Saturn, the 32X, there was a couple decent games, but from a hardware standpoint, probably not some of the best decisions, that they made.
Funny you say that, because when you said that, immediately what came to my mind was the Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn, its biggest claim to fame was it's got these two RISC processors that were going to work in tandem. But the problem was that developers could never get them to work together efficiently. So you never really saw that harness, that power harnessed into a nice, well-rounded game. Do you remember that? Who thought about the twin RISC processors with the Sega Saturn?
I do.
And it ended up being their downfall, I think, because developers pretty much like, yeah, I'm not messing with that.
But what's funny from a retro gaming standpoint, go look on eBay now for the Saturn and the games. Like, I remember I was looking the other day at a Resident Evil Sega Saturn game. Very rare. I think sells for like $90 brand new. I mean, more than it was when it even came out. I mean, it's just one of those weird things that, what's old is new again. I mean, it's just because the system, there's not a lot of them out there.
Sega Saturns?
Yep. Same with 32X. Time is gone. There's just not a lot out there.
It's probably more hardware than there is software, I'd imagine, though. At least on the unopened variety. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I can probably find a Sega Saturn for like $50, I'll bet. The console itself.
I saw one go on eBay just a little bit ago when I was looking, as I'm thinking about getting one for about $120.
I remember opening my Sega Saturn up, man. I loved that thing, dude. I thought that was.
When I first got it, I remember playing Virtua Fighter on it, and I was like, "This is awesome." Now, what kind of was lagging is I didn't have anybody to play it against. Like, I kind of sick of playing the computer.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like, this is really neat. But after you played the Virtua Fighter for a while, there wasn't a whole lot else out at the time it came out with.
Right.
You didn't have Panzer Dragoon right away. I remember Knights when they came out. I remember playing that at the Best Buy, and I'm like, this is really neat. But I didn't buy it. I think I ended up returning my Saturn, and I kind of stayed out of the Saturn then. So,
it was a matter of software again for that one. I remember playing the Sega branded NHL hockey game, and the graphics on ice were really nice, but you were playing in a totally black void. I mean, there were no crowds or nothing at all. It was a good game though. So I mean, NBA. Remember the NBA game from Sega? I can't remember the name of it, but I remember playing that a lot for the Saturn as well. And that was one of the first basketball games that had 3D. I mean, it was a 3D arena, So,
I mean, the one thing Sega system was World Series baseball.
Oh yeah, absolutely. World Series. What's it called? World Series baseball, I believe.
Yep.
brilliant game. I remember when the Sega Genesis was the first console. Was it the Genesis that had the first World Series game that came out? Where it was a first person batting image or angle. That was the Genesis, I think, wasn't it?
I remember Tommy Lasorda baseball on the Genesis. I don't remember.
What was the next console? It might have been the Sega Saturn
I
then?
know the 32X had a World Series. The Sega Saturn did. I don't know about the Sega CD. And I don't know if the Dreamcast. I can't remember if the Dreamcast. I think had a baseball game.
I don't think it was the Dreamcast I'm thinking about, but I remember that game very well. And it was a first person batting angle where you just saw your bat and your hips, legs. It was really, really put you into the game. And that game set the standard for baseball games to come. That was pretty much the default view of the majority of baseball games going forward. I guess if I had to pick my choice of a remake console, it'd probably be in a handheld version, I guess. And I mean, it's hard to say now because you have all these random handheld devices that play pretty much every ROM known to man. But if I could see one licensed handheld come out again, it'd probably be something from Sega, like the Sega Genesis. I'd love to see them.
And I never
what's that?
I never had a Game Gear, but I did have a Nomad briefly. I've even got a brand new Nomad right now to play with. I got to mess with, but I would just say something from Sega because the difference to me at the time, like I remember when Mortal Kombat came out, the Genesis it had all the gore and blood. If you remember, dumbed it down.
Right.
So Sega just was like, no, we're gonna give you what you want. Versus Super Nintendo was like, yeah, we're gonna make the fatalities non-violent, and I was like, this is lame.
That didn't change until even I guess Killer Instinct for the SNES, I guess, or right SNES. But yes, Nintendo always played it safe. They were always family first.
They still kind of, in a sense, are. I mean, there's not a lot of violent stuff.
Well, that they're making first party of, they're not. But they're allowing those games to come to their console at least. I mean, would you have imagined ever seeing a game like what's the dungeon game, Diablo?
Oh no, yeah, absolutely.
Probably not. So a lot has changed. Nintendo wised up. I mean, they were trying to capture the hardcore gamer, which they never did. I mean, they're not going to. They gave up on that. But they wanted to at least widen their audience. They started broadening their licensing at least. And so, it is what it is. I don't know, from a software standpoint, if you could see any game remade that has been remade already from a retro software aspect, what would it be, do you think? Your audio's gone.
You hear me now? Yeah, I'd say Ready to Rumble Boxing for the Dreamcast. I'd like to see that kind of remade.
Good choice.
There's not a lot of boxing games nowadays. I think that's one, if you remade it for today, could probably be pretty fun. Plus, you could put online play with it. I think it'd be something kind of neat to have remade.
And it's not been done yet. It's not been done yet. Surprisingly, it hasn't been done yet.
You think EA Sports did Knockout Kings, which was okay.
Yeah, it was more of a sim, though. Yeah, more of a sim.
Yeah, definitely Ready to Rumble is more of a button masher, but I'd love to see that get remade.
My choice, with all of the power we have now in home consoles, I think it's just a no-brainer to me, but my choice would be Power Stone.
That'd be a good game.
I would love to see that game remade in all of its glory with all the bells and whistles that we have now with all the power. Oh man, that'd be phenomenal. You can make the arenas larger if you wanted to, and just cram all kinds of stuff in there. That would be just somebody please make this game for us. It's brilliant. Yeah. To this day, that game is still a blast to play.
No.
In its current state, not redone or anything. So that's my pick, definitely Power Stone.
I would say as a tier 2, a second one, and it's not possible, but with EA Sports having the exclusive NFL license, but I'd love to see another version of 2K get made. There needs to be competition for the NFL game because, like this year, I didn't even get Madden. The first year in years, I haven't gotten it.
Wow.
Every year I play it. I play a trial on Xbox One with EA Access. And I'm like, to me, it's just not. It's just the same. It feels exactly the same every year to me.
And of course, you know why they can do that, because they have the exclusive rights.
Yeah, they don't have to. There's no competition.
Nobody pushing
So
out.
I'd love to see another NFL 2K, or even they only made one version of it, but the NCAA 2K series.
Yes, yes.
I mean, there's just no competition in some of these games. There's no NCAA football games at all anymore.
Nope, none.
So
or basketball.
That's because of the whole,
or basketball for that matter.
Yeah, that's because of the whole thing with wanting to pay college athletes, and they don't want to get sued anymore. But
yeah, we still have generic teams. I mean, heck, and we can download our own roster like we used to in the past.
Yeah,
whatever. Never gonna happen. It looks like so. You know what? That's just an open market for somebody to just capture. It'll be all theirs. You know what I mean? It'll be all. It's a sad state, really. Especially if
I agree.
Well, that is all I've got. Trevor, you got anything else to the retro wish list?
No, nothing at this time.
Cool. Well, stay tuned to our site. Of course, we rebranded the name. The name is now Retro Pop. Yes, we're excited about the new direction of the site, focusing more on retro gaming in general. But we're also going to have some current reviews as well for current hardware. And speaking of current hardware, we are 3 months away from Google Stadia. Yes, so very excited about that. I have not canceled my pre-order yet.
No, I've got mine still for all the negative feedback it's getting, and Google. Everybody's already assuming Google's going to shut it down, and
before it launches.
Yeah, I want to see it first. I mean,
right. Cool. So stay tuned, guys. We have a lot more coming for you. Trevor.
Take care.
See you later, man. Peace.